attendees can. All right. Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are so excited at Project Scientist that you are joining us for our virtual family night. We are going to be hearing from Dr. DJ Kast on diversifying STEM with STEAM-themed children's books. We are excited to have her here with us today. She's going to share a little bit more about her and what she's done with her books and her role as director of STEM education programs at the University of Southern California. So I'll talk with you a little bit more after she speaks with you all, but if you have any questions as we go along, please go ahead and put those in the Q&A section, and I'll make sure to call those out, or at the end, if there's some extra time left over, you can raise a hand and I can unmute you and you can ask some questions to Dr. DJ Kast as well. Thank you again for joining us, and I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jackie, for introducing me. Hi, everyone. My name is DJ Kast, and I run STEM education programs for low-income students of color in downtown Los Angeles through the University of Southern California. And we provide a lot of hands-on experiments, both during the school day and after school, in partnership with about 7 schools that are within the Los Angeles Unified School District. Let's see. Jackie also said I should mention that I am a mom of 2, but they're both under 2 at this moment, and that I am in complete survival mode most of the time and running on sleepless nights and caffeine. But no, they're both wonderful, and I can't wait till they get a little older and they can also participate in programs like Project Scientist. And anything else you'd like me to add there, Jackie?
You can.
All right, do you want me to get started?
Yeah, go right ahead. That sounds great. Thank you.
Because I talk more about some of the details of our work in the PowerPoint itself, so I didn't want to go down too deep of a rabbit hole. All right. So part of what we're going to be talking about today is looking at how to break stereotypes, especially in children's literature, because it is just such a need for students of color to actually have both characters and role models that actually look like them to inspire them to persist in STEM careers. Oh, this is my introductory slide, so I already did that. And so I'm in Los Angeles, so it's a little like some data about our local area. In Los Angeles, 40% of our elementary school teachers say that they spend less than 1 hour a week on science in the K-5 level. 85% of elementary school teachers have said that they haven't received any professional development in science in at least over 3 years. And in general, especially in kindergarten through 3rd grade, if the elementary school teachers are uncomfortable teaching science, they tend not to teach it. And that has some serious repercussions for the students that are in those classes, because if they're not exposed to some of those subjects, in especially those crucial, early ages, they get to 4th and 5th grade where they start testing on science, and it's just, they end up being really overwhelmed and just not as prepared as they should be. And all of this leads into just a positive feedback loop of they're missing a lot of this information. There's lots of other systemic issues when it comes to STEM, especially in some low-income schools. Some of the schools that we work with have maybe one AP like STEM class. They tend to have like English and like GovEcon and Euro, but a lot of the AP STEM classes are not as available as in wealthier districts. And just all of this in general, and students not performing well on the science standardized testing in those upper elementary grades, it leads to a lot of low-income students either switching, if they've managed to gone through all of these hurdles and have struggled and persisted and made it to a STEM major in college. A lot of low-income students tend to switch majors away from STEM or drop out altogether. And so we had created a program that works to address a lot of these components, especially at the elementary school age. And so I wanted to give you some context about how and why we created the books that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And that's because the community that we serve is predominantly Latinx. And so 84% Latinx and about 10% Black. And the students that we serve are also 93% low income on average between all of our partner schools. Out of about the 3,000 kids that we serve yearly, 30% of them are English language learners. And out of that, there's almost like it's 98% Spanish speaking with 2% Chinese, but we focus mostly on the major majority, which was Spanish speaking. But 96, almost 97% of the students we serve are also students of color. And so we wanted to make sure that we were being equitable, not just in our programming, but also in the books that we were putting in front of students, which in general didn't really exist. And so some of the ways that our programs do that, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about how and why the programs exist for a little bit, and then go into a much deeper dive into the books. There's the Young Scientist program. We focus, it's a kindergarten through 5th grade program. We focus on grocery store science. So all of our materials, for the most part, come from the grocery store, which keeps our budgets low, but it also, it's easier, it's more accessible for students to also then be able to do that work on their own if they'd like to repeat some of the experiments. It's aligned to the science standards, the experiments are hands-on, and we're directly in teacher classrooms, but we also provide external like guest speakers if teachers would like that. We also do professional development sessions for teachers. We have our medical STEM program, which works the same way, but it's funded by the School of Medicine and the Cancer Center. And so the topics are much more medical focused, and the guest speakers are from medical fields. So this is one of our lessons here. One of our student staff was teaching. This is a squishy human body. And then, so both of those are during the school day. And our Wonder Kids is our after school program. And so the books were inspired from Wonder Kids because we partner with a reading and math program. And so everything we did needed to have both a book and a math link with the science activities that we were doing. We would focus on different STEM careers, because STEM is just so vast. There's so many fields, you can go so many directions. And so we if you've heard the podcast from the Natural History Museum called Ologies, where they explore like anything that ends with an ology, like, virology or ecology, botany, etc. That program works the same way. We introduce main concepts of those fields, and then we bring in scientists that are in those fields, prioritizing scientists of color and women as our guest speakers for that program. But trying to find books that matched our curriculum and featured characters of color, either characters or people of color, were extremely hard to find. And let me show you why. So when the program was created in 2014, I have some slides of like 2015, 2018, and 2020 of just diversity of children's literature in general. And even in 2015, children's literature holistically was 73% white, like white main characters, 12% animals and trucks, and then like the remaining 12-ish% was all of the non-white identities smacked together, which is still pretty dismal. And this is all of children's literature. And so trying to find very niche science kids books that both met the needs of our curriculum and features characters of color, like they were very few. It's gotten a little better, I'm happy to say, over time, not by much. In 2018, it was 50% white, but then the non-human character category expanded by a significant amount. And so that's now at 27%, but we do have more children's books with like Black, Latinx, and Asian characters. And then in 2020, it's still a work in progress, and it's still getting better. 41% white main characters. That non-human character increase is still, I get it, but I also would like to just see more books that feature characters of color. And I'm hoping that by 2024 or whenever they do the same study again, that I hope the numbers have gotten better. But that's we saw a real need to create this book series just because we saw such a gap in what was out there and what was accessible for students of color, and to actually find books that look like them. And so we partnered with a nonprofit publisher called Room to Read, and we put together a 10-book children's a children's book series that features 10 titles. And we have 3 main characters. So we have Jay, Cora, and Mia. And so Jay is our Asian male character, Cora is our Black female character, and Mia is our Latina female character. And they also each have their own animal friends. And so that, Felicia, Bonnie, and Sudney the snail. And so what we did is we brought on a lot of both authors and scientists for the book. We also tried to make sure that a lot of the authors were educators that were also serving like programs that were serving low-income students of color in Los Angeles. And that we also had not just diverse representation in the scientists that we put on the pages, but also in the authors. And many of the authors that were chosen for the series were also first-time authors. So providing that additional support for them to actually go from start to finish and get these children's books published and out there. And so this is what the 10 of them look like. This is the English version. So these are the 10 overarching STEM fields that we focused on. So we have data science, engineering, gastroenterology, heart surgery, marine biology, nanotechnology, occupational therapy, oncology, polar science, and virtual reality. And because we have such a large English language learner population, predominantly in Spanish, the entire series was also completely translated into Spanish as well. All of the books are available for free online, and I'll show you a little bit about how to find those on the page, the website links. But even like some of the text, like if you look at like not the credits, but like if you're looking at an image, if there was text in an image that was originally in English, they hired bilingual translators to like fully change all text in the Spanish book to Spanish, and not just have it be only the story itself, but it's like all text was translated into Spanish. But we also wanted to combat a lot of different stereotypes. And so, we, if you take a look, we tried to match our, some of the characters to the scientist that was in the book. And so here we do have Charnel. She is a marine biologist, and so she's a scientist for our marine biology book. We wanted to combat 2 aspects of that by choosing her to be the scientist. One, there's a major misconception in the Black community when it comes to swimming. But in general, swimming is both, it's a equity and access issue, because especially for a lot of the low-income students that we work with, because swimming, you have to pay for access to a pool, and you have to pay for someone to teach you how to swim. And that's not really a priority when you're trying to feed your family. And so we also, the main character, animated character we assigned to was Cora, to kind of address that. So, she's scuba diving, she is exploring the ocean, but there's also a lot of land-based stuff like tide pools and stuff that she's doing, very local California habitats for that book. And on the flip side of that, Charnel doesn't actually get in the water, but is a marine biologist. So all the work that she does is actually exploring the ocean with drones, and she flies all over and does a lot of compilations with the video footage that she's taking in different locations. And so showing that you don't need to know how to swim to be a marine biologist. And so kind of comparing and contrasting those two to kind of showcase what are potential possibilities for students of color in the marine bio field, because it tends to be, that one especially seems to be a little bit more of a, especially cost and equity issue. The publisher was amazing, and they sent all of like the STEM programs and all the educators, and all together they sent us 90,000 free copies of all the books. And to mass distribute those, we hosted book assemblies to full schools, where every kid got all 10, so they could add that to their home library, and they got to choose whether they took home the Spanish sets or the English sets. And so she is holding up the engineering book. And then this over here is Jasmine. So she's one of the authors. She was also an elementary school student in the STEM programs when she was a kid, was in a lot of other programs that helped supported her into college and into occupational therapy. So she's actually from the community itself, has had these programs in her school and in her life, became an educator for the programs, and now has written this book and was able to now read it back to students like her at her school. And so for her to like fully come full circle, and it was really important for her, and she majorly advocated for them to also be translated into Spanish, so that her mom could actually be able to read it. Because she wasn't able to read in English, but she's working on being able to read in Spanish, but could read the Spanish version. So it was really a very personal story for her to be able to get that. And so these are what some of the authors and scientists that showed up to the first book assembly, and everyone kind of holding their book. I was an overachiever, and I'm both one of the authors of the oncology book, which I co-wrote with my dad, who's over here. And I'm one of the scientists for the polar book, because the other educator, Jocelyn, and I went to the North Pole and she went to the South Pole. And so we combined both experiences in the scientist showcase for that particular book. And so this is kind of what some of that looked like. Each of the different schools we partnered with was very different. It was in October, and so we set it up as like trick-or-treating for books. Students would walk from table to table and get their free book, while also getting to talk to the author and or the scientist of that book at the tables. And then each book assembly, we would read a different book. And so this was the one where we read the oncology book. This was at Fauché. This is one where we focused on data science. So Stacy Finley was actually both the author and the scientist for the data science book. So this is what it looked like. A lot of the students would read along with us in their book. And in some of the schools, we weren't able to do it inside because their school had over like 500 elementary school students. And so this was Jocelyn reading to over I think it was over almost 600 students outside of Vermont Elementary. And all the students also reading along with their books here. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time to show you the website that has all of the resources, both the access to the books, and it also has lesson plans both in English and in Spanish, and a lot of interviews of different scientists that you can also use both as parents in this group, but also as teachers that would like to use it as well. So this is the website that I would love for Jackie to put in the chat, and if not, I can also as well. And so on here, right here, this is where you click and go to the books, which will lead you to these ones here. So that's what it looks like. And before I go into the lesson plan, so if you like, I'm biased, I like the oncology book because I wrote that one. So I'll show you how that one looks. All of them are freely available online. You just have to click read story. And then you can literally just flip through the pages. The first half of every book is an animated story, kind of talking about like main concepts of the field and exploring it with the main character and their animal friend. And yeah, so ours was about oncology and cancer and kind of understanding what those mean. What are some of the symptoms of cancer and how it's different for different cancers. Healthy cells, becoming unhappy and unhealthy cancer cells. What metastasis looks like, so it moving from one area in the body to the other. We combined it. A lot of the books also have real pictures of different things. So this is what a radiation room looks like if they're getting that as a treatment, but then also surgery and chemo were other treatment options. Immunotherapy, which was the work of the PhD student that was highlighted in the book in just a few pages. Cancer prevention, so eating healthy, exercising, being supportive of who might be going through that, both as a patient and or their family as caregivers. And then the second half of all the books is really delving deep into the field. So this is looking at oncology. It focuses on like interviewing the scientists, and it does it in a way that we do a day in the life of them as a human, because a lot of the time scientists are put on this major pedestal and they are only seen for their identity as a scientist and nothing else. So this is the day in the life of them as a human. So this is DJ Fernandez, and he likes to work out. He has a cat named Meow. Loves hiking with his dad. Drives to work on a Vespa. And does work on HPV and how and its connections to cervical cancer. And then a day in the life of them as a scientist. And so, he wears PPE and washes his hands before working with his cells, works with DNA. Who are some of the people that work in his lab, etc. What are some potential careers in those fields and what does that look like? What was the future of oncology? We were very ambitious and we were hoping that we could make cancer a disease of the past. What are some related jobs in the field? There were bolded words throughout each of the book, and so there is a word list for teachers as well, or teachers and parents and family members, and different resources that could connect well to it. And then kind of also showcasing the rest of the books. And then if you go back to that first page, it'll also say this version is available in another language. And that's how you can also click directly to the Spanish ones. And then all of the Spanish ones will also be linked here. But I can also send Jackie, if you'd like, the two overarching book links. And then so that's how to access and find the books and kind of how they were created and set up. This is a little bit of an overview of the book assembly, how the books were created and then distributed. And then we also have here all of the lesson plans, both in English and in Spanish. We try to make the materials very at-home friendly as well. So I can show you the oncology one. They are aligned to state standards. What we did is we looked at how like cancer cells multiply to become a tumor. And so this is also like cancer is effectively cell division uncontrolled. And so doing that with Play-Doh. And so two colors of Play-Doh, whether you purchase it or you can make it yourself with flour. And just how does cell division work, and where does the cancer aspect of that come in? Yeah, and so that is available for each of the books, both in English and in Spanish. And then I have been trying to push the publisher to print another 90,000 free ones and get it distributed to other like families and programs, etc. So if you would like to help me increase my case to them to actually reprint, let me know, and I can also send you this link. And I'm just trying to show that there is a need to want to print 90,000 more copies. But yes, that's my talk. If you would like to know anything more, if you have any questions, this is my email. Feel free to contact me. And I think that's the time that I have, right, Jackie?
Yeah, that's great. DJ, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on. I think we have a few minutes, if you don't mind, for some questions. We had somebody even ask, how can parents request physical copies of the book? So I think there's absolutely that need for it. So if you are able to share that link, we will also send out to all of our participants a recording of this session, and I will include in that email all of the links from this evening as well. So Dr. Kast, if you don't mind sharing that link with me, I will be able to share that with all of our fantastic parents and caregivers and educators that have joined us this evening. Before we move on to just kind of the follow up to it, does anyone else have questions for Dr. Kast that you can either put into the Q&A session, or if you want to click on the raise hand button and we can call on you directly for that. I'll give you a moment for that. While you think about it, Dr. Kast, my favorite question to always ask, because I love the advice that our scientists and that you have to give, is if you had a 10-year-old in the room, or when your kids are 10, or thinking back to your 10-year-old self, what is one piece of advice that you would share with them in relation to STEM or inspiring them?
I think especially because they're so young, just kind of finding your passion, whether, I ideally would love for that to be in STEAM for my own children. But kind of finding something that you're passionate about and really like sticking with it, finding mentors in the field that can also help you transition as you kind of explore that field more. And if you don't know what that is yet, that's okay. Just try lots of things. Explore, find ways to, if there's two loves that you have, find ways to put them together. I recently found out that USC offers like a make your own major, where if you want to combine really vastly, like, a pre-med track with art, you can kind of make your own major and choose what classes you have and create like a bachelor's thesis to combine them all together. And so there are lots of ways to combine all of your loves, especially when it comes to STEAM.
I love that answer. Thank you. And our second question in there is, what have been some of the top activities that parents have implemented at home from the book? Or which activities have been your favorite?
Oof, that's hard. I think my favorite one is the gastroenterology one. And I'm a very visual person. And so I also had all of the other authors include photos of what setup looks like. So I can show you. I think that one would be my favorite because it is gross, but fun. It's literally kind of doing digestion with pantyhose.
I know my own children love some gross science, so the more they can dive in with their hands, the better.
That's right. So it starts with a banana and bread, chopping it up like your teeth. So using some scissors to make that happen. The water represents saliva that gets added. And then they also have to smush it together So your hand is now the esophagus, and this plastic bag is now your stomach. You have stomach acid coming in, which is orange juice. And then smushing it all together and moving it through. And then ugh, it is gross, but it's a lot of fun. And then using a funnel to get it through a pantyhose and actually like wringing it through all the way to the end of the pantyhose. And surprisingly, you actually do get a dry pellet at the end of that. And so that's poop when we poop into the aluminum toilet. And I think that one's both the gross factor is great, but it actually really accurately represents how digestion and like what is happening in the gastrointestinal system. So I highly recommend that one if you have easy access to pantyhose.
I now know what we are going to be doing this summer at home, or anytime we need to clean out our fridge, just send everything down the pantyhose. This is going to be great.
Right. That's right.
Awesome. If there's any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and share one more thing, but we still have a little more time on here. And then if you think of a question, again, please feel free to put it in the Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for just a moment. There were a few more resources. Hopefully you can see what I see, okay? But I wanted to share with you all as well. So in addition to these absolutely fantastic reads, I love these books. I love how they incorporate different STEAM concepts, bringing that diversity in STEM, both in content, but also in the characters that you have, really highlighting how important that representation means to students and inspiring them and helping them, when they can be it, they can see it. And the more we can introduce, particularly our girls, to STEM careers, and they can see people that look like them in those, it's just really inspiring to our students. So I love that you are going away from the norm and all the animals, even though there's some cute ones in that book, and really giving students of color an opportunity to feel that representation and feel that sense of belonging. In addition to those incredible books, we also work closely at Project Scientist with PBS Sci Girls. They are all free shows. The PBS series can be found online. I have a QR code here, or you can just search PBS Sci Girls, and it has really incredible resources on their website as well, including Spanish and English episodes that have that same idea of showing diverse girls in STEM, letting them explore. It's middle school girls, and what young girl doesn't love to even see someone that's even a little bit older than them as that role model. And it's fun to walk through that with them. It also has some hands-on activities that you can try out. I don't know if any are nearly as much fun as the digestive track that Dr. Kast shared with us, but they're really great as well, and are a great resource for parents to use at home. Additionally, at Project Scientist, if you are looking for things and ways to get your girls involved in STEM, we do have programs for students of different ages. So our Project Scientist STEAM Club is for students as young as 4 years old through 12 through the end of middle school. And they meet one day a week after school all across the nation, even into Apodaca, Mexico. We have both English and Spanish cohorts. So if you are interested in finding a way to get your daughter involved in a program, my email is at the end. You're welcome to reach out and I can help to match you with a program that may be near to you. STEAM Lab is our program for those same ages as well. That takes place in the summer. It is happening right now all over the country. It's really exciting. Thanks to the fabulous Miss Kirsten planning that. And our girls are involved in a week-long, almost camp-like experience, but it is so much more than that. They are in hands-on activities. They are meeting incredible female STEAM role models, going behind the scenes of different STEAM companies to really see that they could have an opportunity in so many different STEAM careers, even in their own communities. We also, for our older students, as they age up, we want to be able to walk that journey with them. So girls ages 13 through 18 can participate in our Scholars Program. It is currently a virtual program that meets once a week and is an awesome opportunity for them to be involved, to make a cohort of students that share those same passions, to meet women in STEM. It is everything from college readiness to dissecting sheep brains. So it's a lot of fun to join in as well. And then our Teaching Institute, if we have any educators on here, or an educator that's really interested in STEAM, it is a fantastic program that teaches racial and gender equitable teaching strategies in math and science, and is offered year-round and is a fantastic program as well. So whether you are exploring what Dr. Kast has to share with you, or you are entering into project scientist programs, or even just exploring STEAM at home with some of these incredible resources, we appreciate you joining us this evening. If you have questions for me, please don't hesitate to ask them. You can reach out to me. I know you have Dr. Kast's email as well. And beyond that, I will send you all of these resources in the next few days. Thank you all for joining us, and a huge thank you again to Dr. Kast for sharing your fantastic work. I love this resource, and I hope it'll be able to get into the hands of a lot more students.
I hope so too. Fill out that request form so that I could have the publishers send out a whole bunch more of actual physical copies of the book.
Fantastic. Thank you all, and have a wonderful evening or afternoon if you're on the West Coast.